9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, hey there, you awesome bipeds, quadrupeds, and even the occasional dinosaurs. It is I, Little Wolf, and welcome to my den. Go ahead and come on in, but please wipe your paws before entering, and go ahead and take a seat by the fire. Wait a moment, though. That's not really gonna work for the set, though. Because at the moment, we are kind of in the corridor of a ship, floating off away into space. And there are good reasons for this. And before we go any further, I would like to thank Free Picks for the use of this corridor and for the chairs that I'm using. So thank you very much for having these little space things that I'm able to use. And yes, we are in the corridor areas of a spaceship and we're going off to another galaxy. And like I said, there is a reason for this, and that is because in my absence, and I know I've been gone for a month, and I keep saying that I'm gonna try and keep getting better at doing videos and try and not make them as far spaced out as they are. And I'm just really sorry about that, but life just keeps getting more and more like weirder and complicated as life goes on, I guess, and that's supposed to happen. I don't remember agreeing to any of this, but okay. But through all of that, I do try and help you guys with the occasional cartoon shows, sometimes some old sci-fi shows, some old movie reviews, and things like that. So I'm hoping that we can go ahead and do that. But with this one now, what we're gonna be doing is looking at a show that I found a bit ago, and it's called Tales of Tomorrow, and it was known as America's first science fiction show themed towards adults. And that's just really cool. And I was able to find a bunch of them on the YouTubes and on archive.orgs and places like that. And I read into it a bit, and it says that they're public domain. So, me being a public domain pup, I figured, let's try and show some of these. I think it would be really fun and really interesting to show like America's first sci-fi. I mean, that's just so cool. Sure, we had like other weird shows before, but it wasn't like adult themed and they have kind of bleak endings, some of them, but it's just so much fun and amazing. So I thought I would go ahead and try and bring that forth and let's try and relive some retro. So that's what we're going to do with this one. And if you ever feel like you need help and you can't talk to any of your friends or family, if you're in the US, the easiest way to get help would be to call 988. And they'll be able to talk to you and get you in touch with different doctors and things like that that should be able to help you if you ever feel like you need that. So if you need that help, go ahead and call 988. Um, but if you're outside of the US, and that's pretty much everybody else out there, I do have a website you can go to, and it's called blog.opencounseling.com backslash suicide hyphen hotlines backslash. And that'll give you websites and numbers that you can go to for all the other different countries out there. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into what we're going to be talking about. And to kind of help me out with this, I know when I kind of introduce a new show, I usually try and go into the background of it and say what things are very fun aspects of it, and I was able to find a very interesting article from scifist.net, and it came out in 2020, and it's by John Wass. I believe that's the name. Okay, so it says here that the show is 6 out of 10. The first sci fi anthology TV show aired live in the US from 1951 to 1953, with material by some of the greatest sci fi authors of all time. Its adult oriented, intelligent scripts are often unsettling to watch even today. The cast boasts Leslie Nielsen, Rob Steiger, Paul Newman, Eva Gabor, James Dean, Joanne Woodward, and many more. So, it also says here we tend to view television as a feature of the 50s, but often forget that televised broadcast first began as far back as the 30s. Granted that very few actually had their own TV sets to view them on. In the late 40s, TV was slowly becoming a staple household item among the American urban middle class, and TV stations had started producing their own fictional shows, broadcast live from their studios. These were often more inspired by radio shows than by movies, in particular in terms of their content, but also in terms of production. While the film serials often might seem a closer point of comparison, the technical differences were huge, inasmuch as film series were often filmed outdoors for budgetary reasons, and had an advantage of not being aired live. Early TV shows, on the other hand, were broadcast live like many radio shows, and as such were almost necessarily bound to a single studio, where all aspects of production could be easily managed. Sorry. Juvenile science fiction like Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers arrived on the radio and in film series in the 30s, long before they entered the realm of feature films, and their first science fiction TV show, aimed explicitly at children, was called Captain Video and His Video Rangers, and began airing in 1949. 1949 also saw the transition of uh, Arch Obler's hugely popular suspense show, Lights Out, from radio to television. While mostly focused on horror and weird, Lights Out was the first show that produced sci fi stories aimed at adult audiences. In 1951 was a watershed year for not only sci-fi cinema, but also for sci-fi television, as it brought the first TV show exclusively dedicated to science fiction stories aimed at an adult audience. Tales of Tomorrow. Again, the inspiration came from radio and in particular the show Dimension X, which had a hit the airwaves in 1951, and which featured stories by such sci-fi nobility as Isaac Asimov, Robert Heinlein, and Kurt Vonnegut. And it says here that Tales of Tomorrow ran on ABC from 1951 to 1953. This has the distinction of being the first television anthology series to feature exclusively science fiction, foreshadowing legendary TV shows like The Twilight Zone, which was from 1959 to 1964, and The Outer Limits, which ran from 1963 to 1964. Ooh, wow, there is a lot to go on here, but let's keep going. Tales of Tomorrow was developed by Mort Aberson and the influenced sci fi writer Theodore Sturgeon as a science fiction only TV series. Sturgeon may not have been very well known to the general public, but like many scientific writers of the 30s, 40s, and 50s, when pulp magazines were still in full swing, Much of his work was first printed in magazines like Astounding Science Fiction, Unknown, Weird Tales, and Planet Stories, and he published vast volumes of his short story collections. His work often commented on psychology and human condition, sometimes with the absurd plot twist with often a battle call for critical thinking. He is also known for sometimes inserting subtle homosexual undertones in his work. He's best known His best-known novel is More Than Human from 1953, about six people with extraordinary talents who fuse their minds into a sort of hive mind. Sturgeon may be best known for film fans as author of Star Trek episodes Shore Leave from 1966 and Amok Time from 1967, and for his contributions to the 80s reboot of The Twilight Zone. Sturgeon wrote at least three episodes for Tales of Tomorrow. Tales of Tomorrow was created in cooperation with the Science Fiction League of America, which allowed the producers to choose freely from over 2,000 short stories registered with the League. Many prominent writers also contributed with new material for the show. All in all, the show featured the works of such contemporary writers as, let's see here, I'm going to really mess these up. Frederick Paul Philip Wiley. Okay, wow, that's interesting. Or wait, no. Okay, Frederick Paul, and then you have Philip Wiley. I am very bad at this. I'm so sorry. Cyril Kornblath, Stanley Weinbaum, Henry Cutter, C.L. Moore, John Campbell, Ray Bradbury. Everybody knows him pretty much. A.E. von Bogat, Robert Shankly, John D. MacDonald, Raymond F. Jones, and Arthur C. Clarke. The show also borrowed from books of science fiction greats that had fallen into public domain, such as Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Beneath the Sea and H. G. Wells' The Crystal Egg, Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, Fitzjames O'Brien's The Golden Ingot and the Diamond Lens, and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Or is it Frankenstein? One of the two. Frankenstein, Frankenstein. If you get that, I love you. And what set Tales of Tomorrow apart was the fact that it was written by serious writers for an adult audience and often tackled difficult, complex themes. Some of the episodes are genuinely unsettling, even to a modern viewer. Others were more run-of-the-mill horror sci-fi stories. Since the show, like many TV shows at the time, was acted and broadcast live, the most efficient episodes tend to be the intimate and claustrophobic ones, with a fairly small cast that didn't require much special effects or big sets. And that's going to be kind of one of the ones that we're going to do tonight. And you can read a lot more of this, and I will try and post a link to this article in it. And the episode we are going to be looking at is called Red Dust, and it aired May 2nd on 1952. And it says here it's the first human mission to another solar system, and uh, they lose two crew on a red dust covered planet, one in which it had an advanced civilization. Due to allergies, neither of the shipmates got the anti radiation shots, so the remaining crew aren't concerned about their own return to Earth. But when the red dust starts appearing everywhere on the ship, they have to figure out what their next course of action is going to be. And to set the stage a little bit more, what we have is a crew of astronauts that have actually made it supposedly to I think it's the Alpha Centauri system. They land on a planet, and there's red dust all over the place, and they have two of their astronauts that weren't able to take the anti-radiation shots because of allergies. Yeah. But because they didn't take the anti-radiation, the red dust gets to them a little bit quicker, and so they wind up having to leave these people on another planet in another star system while they get on a planet or get on a ship to fly home. And it just gets more interesting as everything goes on. And the one thing that I find interesting with the show a little bit more is a lot of it is really a lot more in your mind than when you're seeing it. Be and you'll just kind of understand as the episode plays out. And I just can't wait to show more of these episodes because there is another one that is named after another popular sci-fi one, and it's called All the Time in the World. And most people would know that from the Twilight Zone with Burgess Meredith, and he can finally read, breaks his glasses. I gave away the ending, but the show is how old now? Okay, so now we have to find out what happens to this crew as the red dust spreads through the ship and they realize what happened to the other people that had encountered this dust. They had a more advanced civilization and they couldn't deal with it. So, let's go ahead and jump into this ship and find out what happens in Tales of Tomorrow and the Red Dust.
And now C.H. Maslin and Sons bring you Act One of Red Dust, starring Lex Barker.
Well, we're off again. On our way home. First man to reach Alpha Centauri.
The first men to reach a solar system outside our own and live to tell it.
Except the two of us we left buried back there under that red dust.
Look, Charlie, before you start crying about Kelly and Schwartz, remember we've got a long way to go before we reach Earth. So save your tears till then. You may need them for yourself.
That's being very realistic.
I'll bet the doc's so wrapped up over what we found down there that he wouldn't care if we ever got back.
On the contrary, I'm very anxious to get back. Alpha Centauri had a remarkable civilization, centuries in advance of ours. We'll benefit beyond measure from this accumulation of its knowledge we're bringing back.
Makes us look like babes, huh? I'll never forget it. Those great, magnificent, shining cities. Yes, but no life. How weird. Completely deserted. Everything dead. Covered with that strange pink dust. They must have all died down there in some epidemic. And the dust just settled. Those papers you found there say anything about it, Doc?
Oh, I haven't had a chance to look through them fully yet.
Say, where'd all this dust come from?
We must have picked some of it up before we left. I thought we'd cleaned up the ship thoroughly. We were so careful. Let's see.
It's that red dust from Alpha. It's all over the place. Boy, will I be glad to get back to Pittsburgh.
Yes, it's the same dust that was covering Planet A. Strange how persistent.
Hey, Kurt,
Yeah?
take a look.
At what?
The dust. It's growing.
It's what?
Well, I'll be...
There wasn't that much there yesterday. I tell you, it's growing.
Well, it sure is.
No wonder I feel crawly. Feel it under my clothes. My skin. What's a little dust? We'll be going home soon. You're right, though. It is kind of crawly. It gets under your clothes. No wonder I've been itching. There's something alive about this dust. I don't like the way it grows.
Well, forget about it. But we should have brought along as a housemaid. A pretty one.
It's a good thing we'll be getting back to Earth again in a few days before this dust gets any thicker. At the rate it's been spreading, in another week we'd have to fight our way through it. Time for the shots again, Doctor.
Good heavens. Was that the radiation shot?
Sure.
Have we all been getting them?
Well, except Kelly and Schwartz, before we landed on Alpha Centauri, they claimed they were allergic. They got reactions. They didn't think they needed them.
That cost them their lives.
What? But we checked before we landed. There was no radiation on Alpha.
The radiation is there. On my finger.
The dust?
Dust.
But I thought that they caught something that we didn't, that we were immune to somehow. Oh, it couldn't be the dust. Well, the ship's full of it. Our skin, our clothes. Then why did we survive? The radiation shots?
Apparently.
So far, so good. Frankly, now, when we signed up for this little thing, who would have thought that we'd make it there and back without a hitch?
I don't think I even thought about it. Hey, Charlie. Can't you and the doc do something about this dust? I'm getting awful itchy.
Time for the shots.
Radiation shots again? That's more hogwash. What do we need them for? We're going home soon. What do we need them for, anyway?
They just saved your life, that's all.
Say what?
The doc just found out what killed Kelly and Schwartz. It was radiation disease. Caused by that pink dust.
Oh, you're kidding. You mean this stuff?
Hey, that's right. They didn't take their shots. It was the dust after all, and the reason we're alive is because of these shots.
Ouch! Take it easy, Charlie. It's not my fault that Kelly and Schwartz didn't get their shots.
Don't joke about it.
Hey, Charlie, we're just as upset about this as you are, but there's nothing we can do about it now.
Yeah, they knew when they came along what the chances were. 2 men lost on an expedition like this, that's not so bad. Not when you consider that they didn't even survive, the first bunch didn't even survive the takeoff. What you've got to do, Charlie, is think about yourself. Concentrate on you.
Yeah, you're just like the doctor. You don't care about anything but yourself.
No, you don't believe that. You wouldn't have worked for him so long.
Oh, I respect him all right, but I can't help thinking about Kelly out there on that red desert. The dust swirling around him and us goggling down at him through the port. And Kurt yelling, "Here's a toast to Kelly." When he came clumping back into the ship, his flight suit covered with it. And all the time, that deadly dust was spreading over him, just like it's spreading over this ship. Getting inside him, eating him away.
Hey, Charlie, look, we all know that death is the price of knowledge.
Yes, but none of you care anything about it. All Kurt here's interested in is excitement. And the doc will do anything for science, no matter who suffers. And you, Duncan.
I suppose I just came along for the ride. What is it, Doc? You look worried.
Here it is. As much as they knew about it, as much as I do.
The dust?
I know its refractive index, its biaxial interference figure, and that's about all.
Thanks, that makes it as clear as a foggy night.
It's a weird sort of radioactive life, a virus that attacks any living matter that comes near it.
Radiation, huh? Well, then we're safe.
No, I'm afraid not. Our shots just slowed it down.
Slowed it down.
You mean then...
Just temporarily. But they can't stop it.
And we've got it too, like Kelly and Schwartz.
Have we, Doc? Have we?
Yes. And once it gets going, there's no stopping it. They found that out on Alpha Centauri. These little specks, are alive, deadly.
Yeah, but Doc, if the shots slowed it down...
The shots only take care of the radioactivity, but once that dust gets anywhere near you, its penetrating power is amazing. Its tiny crystals settle in every cell of your body and begin to grow and radiate. Blocking off the radioactivity only seems to prevent quick death. It seems to have no effect at all on the growth of the crystals. And once they come anywhere near a vital organ...
How long have we got?
By attacking the radiation, slowing it down, perhaps 10 or at best 15 years.
10 years? 10 years to die in? But we can't let that happen. You've got to do something.
There's nothing I can do, Charlie, not even for myself.
But to die like that, waiting for...
Charlie, snap out of it.
That dust searing the life out of us.
Charlie, it's just another medical problem for the doc and the boys at the Science Center to figure out. They've got 10 years to do it in a breeze.
They didn't come up with an answer on Alpha Centauri, did they? You're gonna die, Kurt. Big, brave Kurt. You're just like all the rest of us. You tried to prove all the time that you're better, but you're gonna die.
Kurt, stop it. Can't you see he's hysterical? Well, he had it coming to him.
Charlie, you're just tired. Get some rest. Got a grip on yourself.
Well, that's the way it's going to be.
What this needs is a drink. Here. To the dust. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Ha red dust.
You just can't resist showing off, can you, Kurt?
Now don't you start, Doc.
Not starting anything, but I'm not afraid to admit that I'm just plain scared.
Now, the way I figure it is, we're 10, maybe 15 years ahead of what we expected to be when we started on this little excursion. And boy, I can do a lot with 15 years.
Girl on every planet, huh?
Well, let's face it, I'm 35 now, and in 15 years I'll be 50. Who wants to live any longer than that? 15 years and then...
Maybe you're right. If they have that much time, our scientists ought to be able to find some way to stop it.
Whatever. Trying to throw himself out the airlock. Go on, Doc. Tell him the rest. The result of our fine expedition. Tell him what we're bringing back. Death to every man, woman, and child on Earth.
What are you trying to do, you crazy thing? Get out of here! You don't want to live, I do.
Charlie!
Mine.
Smash the ship! That's blood crying! Duncan! Help! Quick! The airlock!
What does that crazy fool do now? What?
Threw himself out the airlock.
Poor fellow. What do you know? I didn't think he meant it.
Guess he just couldn't live with the idea of death.
You're both wrong. He said something before he... Do either of you realize what he meant?
When he was off his beam, I knew that.
He said what we were taking back to Earth was death. He was right.
What? Listen, Doc.
I know you're both tough enough to take this, so I won't sugarcoat the pill. We can't go back to Earth.
We can't hit that again, Doc.
I said we cannot return to Earth.
In just a minute, we'll bring you Act 2 of Red Dust, starring Lex Barker. I'd like to use that minute to good advantage. I'd like to introduce a member of the Maslin quality family. Here it is, Cantata, a Maslin Beauty Blend broadloom. Cantata is a Wilton weave, and that means that the yarn is woven right through to the back. That ensures extra long wear, gives you a hidden cushion of yarn under the pile. And the pile itself, well, that's anchored forever. A Cantata features a sculptured design in 2 pile highlights for extra decorating value. And the texture, that's of heavy grow point, a really luxurious value at about $11.95 a square yard. See Cantata at your Maslin dealer. It comes in several delightful colors chosen to complement your room and flatter your furnishings. The lovely sculptured design of Cantata is highlighted in dark and light green, gray, beige, beaver, and cardinal red. Furthermore, Maslin brings you this richly designed, budget-priced carpet, Cantata, in widths up to 12 feet. Visit your Maslin dealer soon. Ask to see Cantata, a wonderful budget buy made by Maslin, makers of fine carpets for more than 4 generations. And now Maslin brings you the second act of Red Dust, starring Lex Barker.
Look, Doc, start at the beginning and go back. Why can't we return?
That should be obvious, Kurt. Kelly, Schwartz, Charlie, Duncan, you, even the doctor. If we landed, do you think the red dust would stop with us? We'd contaminate everything we even came near. And then it would spread outward until there was nothing but one great, sterile, pink desert stretching from pole to pole.
When we get back home, they'll get rid of those red bugs in no time.
The system of Alpha Centauri had scientists working with advanced techniques we can't even begin to understand, and they couldn't get rid of the dust. No. One boneyard in the galaxy is enough, Kurt.
Well, what do you want us to do? Hang a bell out in front of the ship and go wandering around through space, jangling it, yelling unclean?
Not quite. When we reach radio contact point, we'll be able to transmit all the valuable information and knowledge we've gathered. Once we've done that, our mission will be accomplished. Then the only thing left to do will be put the overcharge on emergency power, throw the converters out of phase, and then wait for them to explode. One quick, clean sunburst.
Now, I'm sorry, Doc, but I don't agree with you. I don't believe in suicide for any reason, yours or Charlie's, and that's what this amounts to.
It's not the same thing.
Well, it is to me. Look, Doc, you and me were both a lot alike. We know what we want, to do things. Not the same things, maybe, but once we make up our minds, we do it.
I've made up my mind. This ship is not going back to Earth.
Give me a minute, Doc. I don't think you thought this thing through. You're a scientist. You know the answer to everything.
What are you driving at?
Well, as a scientist, you know it's only a matter of time before somebody comes up with the answer to this red bug thing. Someday, somebody's going to come up with an answer. Don't you want to be the one?
Yes, but even on Alpha...
Well, so they didn't solve it on Alpha. Maybe they were just on the verge. Maybe what they already knew, and just a little more research would have done the trick. Don't underestimate yourself, Doc, or the boys at Science Center.
I would like to find the secret of that red dust.
Well, you're a scientist, Doc. You face problems. You don't commit suicide in order to avoid them.
Maybe you're right, Kurt. Maybe you're right. Let me think about it.
Well, how'd I do, Dunk, old boy?
Maybe you're right, Kurt. But I don't think so.
Look, I just spent a lot of time talking old Davidson out of his screwy ideas. Now, I'm not going to waste any more on you. Don't you want to live?
Sure. Sure I do. But so does several billion people down on Earth.
So with Doc's radiation shots are in the same boat we are. They've got 15 years to live just like the rest of us have.
Maybe men like you, ones who take the big chances, are important. And men like Dr. Davidson, too, but somewhere along the line, the others, the unimportant ones have to be considered. Otherwise, what you and the doctor accomplish means nothing.
I worry about Kurt Benster.
Whether you realize it or not, you've got a bigger responsibility than that. The others may not mean much to you, Kurt, but you can't murder a whole system just to add a few more years to your life.
Now you make me laugh, Doc. That system's not so hot.
It can be. It can. There's hope. If you take this ship in, there won't even be that.
You kill me, Dunk. Here I thought you were so calm, cool. Why, just look at you when you get all worked up.
Maybe the doctor will listen to me. I gotta talk some sense into one of you.
Hold it, Dunk. Get over there and sit down.
What do you think you're doing, Kurt? You can't scare a man who's already slated to die.
Yes, but I can scare a man who doesn't want this ship to get back to Earth. Now sit down.
What is this?
We're just having a little discussion, Dunk and I.
Put your gun away, Kurt. I heard your discussion.
Yeah, what'll it be?
Kurt, you said you thought we were very much alike in some ways. Well, you're right.
You lose, Dunk, old boy. This ship goes back to Earth, red dust and all.
Radio contact!
There we are, Dunk. Over there.
I didn't mean it. I just had to stop you from destroying the ship.
Radio contact point L7 calling spaceship Meridian. Radio contact point L7 calling Meridian.
I know you're a scientist. You mustn't take the Meridian back to Earth. Give them a chance.
Radio point 7 calling spaceship Meridian. Radio contact point L7 calling Meridian.
Hello, contact point L7. This is Dr. Davidson, Meridian speaking.
The Meridian! She's back! Colonel Wetzel, contact's been made with the Meridian! She's back, she's back! She's back!
Give me that mic. Davidson. Hello, this is Wetzel speaking.
Yes, Wetzel.
Did you make Alpha Centauri?
Yes, we made it all the way.
Congratulations, wonderful. Anything on it?
Cities, big cities, and machines.
Wonderful. The inhabitants. Were they friendly?
There weren't any. Information is in my notes and documents.
Can't wait to see them. When will you make contact?
I have information to transmit. Now.
Now? Hold it, hold till you...
Now!
Okay. Fire when ready.
Ready. July 23rd. Landing on Alpha Centauri was made on a low plateau. Longitude 37 degrees 28 minutes, latitude 49 degrees 54 minutes, as reckoned on the Van Dusen astronomical projection. An analysis of the atmosphere revealed eventually tissue destruction reaches the point where death is inevitable. Furthermore, there is little possibility of developing a curative agent within the estimated 10 to 15-year margin between first contact and the complete destruction of all terrestrial life.
Dr. Davidson? Dr. Davidson, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. That is the sum of our information. I'm sorry that we will not be there to see the results of this expedition, but the scientist is also a member of the human race, with responsibilities toward others, which he does not always realize until they are pointed out to him.
Davidson, Dr. Davidson, where are you? What's happening?
Action is being taken to ensure that the Meridian and what remains of her crew do not return to the Earth. Meridian ending transmission. Approximate location, 7th lunar section, Estimated time of arrival not given.
Tale of Tomorrow. Tonight's tale, Red Dust, starring Lex Barker. Before I tell you about next week's program, I'd like to remind you again about cantata. You know, most of us have an eye for quality, and most of us have a yen for luxury. Well, here, Masland has the answer to both. Cantata, a Wilton broadloom designed in a sculptured pattern to bring a new air of beauty to your home. Just look at it. Notice the thickness. That's the result of the double pile, which is backed by a hidden cushion of yarn under the pile. The secret of cantata and its super quality. Another fine Masland Beauty Blend broadloom made with a tasteful flair for beauty on an economy slant. Cantata is available to you now at only about $11.95 a square yard. Drop in at your dealers and let the magic of Masland transform your home. Be sure to be on hand next week when Tales of Tomorrow will present The Golden Ingot, starring Gene Lockhart, and presenting a brilliant new discovery never before seen on television, Miss Monica Lovett. Brought to you by Chrysler, the name that makes news in watch bands.
Here is real fashion magic, the expansion watch band that transforms any woman's watch into a modern bracelet watch. It's Golden Fantasy by Chrysler. Think of it. A bracelet watch usually costs $50 or more, but Golden Fantasy gives you this same style for only $9.95, tax included. So go to your jeweler, ask him to show you Golden Fantasy. See for yourself how Chrysler makes news in watch bands.
Adapted from a play by Theodore Cogswell. CP means cerebral palsy, a name to remember. Give to your local affiliate of United Cerebral Palsy. Forget them not.
For fun, adventure, and leisurely relaxation, there's nothing like a long pleasure trip to some faraway place you've been dreaming about. Of course, it takes money to travel. But you can be aboard that pleasure ship in your future if you get aboard the bond wagon today. By buying United States savings bonds regularly, you build up a fund that will look mighty good when you need it. And in the meantime, your money is growing. For every $3 you put into these bonds, in 10 years you get back $4. Make sure you won't miss the boat. Sign up for savings bonds now.
The preceding program, originally telecast by ABC in New York, has come to you by special video recording. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
Yeah, I really do hope that you guys can see why I really do like this show, and it does have those bleaker endings. And there's going to be quite a few more episodes that have this kind of thing. One of their first shows was called The Child is Crying. And it's kind of one of those things where they have these, like, exceptionally smart children that are born, and throughout the world they kind of connect together and come up with different plans to win wars, take care of famine, take care of blah blah blah. And so later on, as they're trying to explain more of what's going on, the child explains that here in a bit a certain thing is going to happen and they're going to revert back to being children. So it's going to be an interesting one to look into when we show that one. And like I said, there is another one where it's called All the Time in the World. And like I said, it has the same title as the Twilight Zone one, but it has kind of a storyline as what was it? An unusual watch where you have a watch that can stop time in your area, or not really stop it, but it speeds it up so that you're moving at like supersonic speeds while everybody else is still going at the regular bipedal speed stuck on Earth. And it has a very different way of ending than the one in the Twilight Zone. And it's just so fun to be able to jump back into the past and look at some of these older shows that paved the way for all the other shows that we do love. You know, Tales from the Dark Side, The Twilight Zone, uh, just so many. And it paved the way for many movies and the way anthology movies would work. I love it so much, and I love being able to step back in time and look at these retro shows. And I hope you will be able to join me in showing all these other shows. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it helped your week. And I shall soon be coming back with more cartoons, and I really hope that you guys will enjoy these different retrospectives of different things, the cartoons, the shows. I found a British old TV show that I'm going to try and find. It's called Space Patrol for them. We also had an American one that was really good, and it was based on an old radio show. And there are so many radio shows that I would love to share again. So I think I'll try and go back in some point and start sharing some of the old radio shows. So I really hope this helped you be able to, get through your day and make it a little bit easier. I love being able to help you do that. And, when you go out, I know we don't really do it as much anymore, but if you feel the need to and you want to protect yourself and your family, go ahead and mask up. It doesn't really hurt anything. And it'll make you feel better and your family feel better. And it might make the other people just feel a bit weirder about being around you. And if they feel weird about being around you, wear it anyways and just get them away from you. And of course, if you haven't done it yet, please go out and get your booster and your vaccination shots. That'll help protect you and your family in the long run, and that's what we really need to do. And we don't do it as much as far as I can see when I go into the stores, but try and distance yourself from people. I'm like very anxious when it comes to crowds. So when there's a huge crowd, my anxiety goes up and I just can't handle it. So try and social distance. It'll just help so much. And with all of that going on, we can protect our little lioness here because that's what we need to do. We need to hashtag protect the lioness. And we need to keep this lioness aboard this ship and in the den with me so we can continue sharing old cartoons and old TV shows. I love all you bipeds, quadrupeds, and even the occasional dinosaurs so much. And I'm glad you were able to blast off with me in this episode. And I hope there are going to be many more to come. There are like 78 or so different episodes of Tales of Tomorrow, and I know I can find 27 of them. So I'm going to keep digging and find many more. There are so many I want to share. So let's hope this will make a fun new little offshoot of the vintage revisits. Let's revisit vintage cartoons and vintage sci fi shows. I love all you bipeds, quadrupeds, and even the occasional dinosaurs so much. So until next time, Wolf out.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.